What was the beginning? Can you give us an overview of the group and how it all began?
So it was a trip organized by the Armenian diocese, and it's a group of young Armenian adults. So there was 31 of us, so it was a bigger group this time. A couple of us, me included, were supposed to go in the year 2020, but COVID canceled that trip. So this was the first year that they were doing this trip again. And you just sign up to go, and it was we spent around 7 days in Jerusalem, and we were guided by two Der Hars, Der Chosep and Der Gurech, and we were just taken around two different parts in Jerusalem.
Have you ever been to the area? Have you ever traveled to the Middle East before?
I've been to Armenia, but that's the only part of the Middle East I've been to.
That must have been a very unique experience, an adventurous experience going to the Holy Land. There's so much differences you can compare between Armenia and Jerusalem. But what did you expect to find in Jerusalem in this whole experience, and what actually did you find?
I expected it to be a very religious trip. Obviously, it's the Holy Land, and there's the holiest sites in the world there. So I was expecting to learn a lot about our religion and our culture, which we definitely did. We had our Bible studies, and we spent a lot of time praying and seeing the holy sites. Another part of the trip I didn't expect was to learn about the Armenian community in Jerusalem, the actual people that live there. I didn't realize how few Armenians were left there, but we had a day where we went to the convent in the Armenian Patriarch, and we got to talk to all the youth there that they're Armenian, and it's a really tight-knit community. They're actually setting up for their graduation, so it was really nice to see how tight-knit they are, but also realize their importance and how important the presence of Armenians are in Jerusalem, and just the intensity of it. I was pretty naive to all that.
Chris, I'm sure you want to jump in and compliment what Danielle was saying. And what was the experience like for you? And what did you find out? What was impressive? What did you find out about the community that's dwindling?
Yeah, I mean, the community was really nice to meet them all. Really close-knit community, really cool. I wasn't expecting to really meet them or to really engage with them much either. They were people that were just like us, Armenian. They went to school, Armenian school, that kind of stuff. Really nice to meet them. I wasn't expecting how small it would be. I expected us to have a bigger presence there, but I guess through different regulations and stuff, our numbers are dwindling. That was a big surprise to me.
Number-wise, we're not that many, but in terms of Armenian presence, in terms of Armenian the church sites in the Holy Sepulchre, in the St. James Cathedral, in many, it's a very, very impressive presence there. A small country like Armenia, or Armenians, over the centuries have piled up that wealth. It's just mind-boggling. I think you like the Gethsemane, the Mother of Christ tomb.
The St. Mary's tomb was unbelievable. It felt like an Armenian church, like I was in Armenia. It had all the lanterns, it had the icons. We had a Quran right up against the tomb, which was unbelievable. We did a Badarak in there. That was my favorite part of the trip. That was a very good service. Yeah.
Danielle, in terms of society in general, what struck you? There are two really countries you visited. You visited Palestine, and you also visited Israel, and you definitely can see the difference between the two groups. What was it that struck you as different, and what can you tell us about the coexistence of these people?
There definitely distinction between the two groups of people. Definitely conflict that was very eye-opening to see firsthand. You think like you're going to the Holy Land and people would, I guess, be more respectful of other people's religions, but it's really, you can see it's very tense. Conflict can arise quickly, so you kind of just have to be careful. It's definitely very separate, it seems.
Chris, what purpose do these tours serve? Like, we are all concerned in serving the youth and bringing the youth into the community, and getting each to know the other person, get more Armenianness into the youth. What does this added to you?
Yeah, I mean, you could get in tune with the community in the U.S. or in Armenia, but going to Jerusalem is just a different beast. It's the place that you learn about in church. It's not necessarily the place you learn about in school, but like church, you're growing up in the church, you're reading all the stories in the Bible. Now you're going to these places, you're walking where Jesus walked, you see where he was born, where he resurrected, you know, where the angel came down to tell Mary that Jesus was going to be born through her. Like that, it was really a special moment. You can't do that anywhere else, obviously.
You visited the manger in Bethlehem.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
That was a surprising one because they say it's a manger where there's animals and stuff like that, but it was a cave. And the tour guide and the Derhais were saying that he probably wasn't actually born where animals are born. He was probably born in a cave. The shepherds didn't have time to build that kind of stuff. That I think that was the biggest surprise for the physical, you know, how it actually looked, all that stuff. Everything else was kind of how I expected, I think, or I didn't really have expectations. That one was a big surprise.
Danielle, how about the overall experience? What was the highlight for you? There are so many questions we have for you. What was the highlight? What do you remember as something really special? Chris was telling me about the church of St. Mary's in Gethsemane. What was the highlight in your experience? And you traveled all the way northern part to Nazareth and Galilee and all these other places. What was the highlight?
My highlight was at the Holy Sepulchre the night we did a Badarak all together. But the most special part of that night, we had some downtime to just kind of explore the sepulchre. So there was time to just be on your own and pray and walk around, and it just felt really close to God in that moment. So that was really special. And then to close that experience off with a Badarak all together at the tomb of Jesus was like once in a lifetime opportunity. We're never gonna have that experience again. So very grateful for that.
Did you have services at 2 or 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning? You had it, and there were other communities who were also conducting their prayers, and there was a symphony.
Yeah, so we did a Jamar Kachun at midnight first. Then we had a few hours of downtime, and while we were walking around, there was a Greek church doing their service. Then when we started our church, there was a Ethiopian church, I believe, that started a service somewhere else, so we could hear them kind of doing their thing while we were doing our service. It was pretty interesting.
That's really something very special, unique. As Danielle said, it's once in a lifetime. I don't know if you'll go back. Do you think you may go there back one day?
Yeah, absolutely. I would go back.
You will go.
I would even go back within the next 2-3 years, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That's. How about you, Danielle?
I would also go back. I think the experience we had, we'll never have the same one again, and I'm glad that that's the first experience we had at Jerusalem. But I would definitely go back as well.
What is the common denominator of the people in the group, the 31 people in the ACYOA? Is there a common thread? Is there a common denominator?
I mean, when you sign up and you apply to go on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, I think you're already kind of put yourself in a group of religious people who are church going. They love to serve the Armenian church. So that was, I think, the main denominator. There was a big age group, so there wasn't that much more between everybody, but that was definitely something.
Danielle, what else should we ask you? I mean, there's so many questions. We could spend the whole afternoon here. I know Rafi wants to ask you a question. Rafi is next to us. Rafi, would you like to come and share the microphone, please? And if not from there, you have to come here. Go for it, Rafi. We are a big family here, a very small space. But here is Rafi Krikorian with a question.
As far as the people there, and I know it was a religious group, but did you have any interaction with the locals? What was your impression? What was their personality? Were they hospitable? Were they loving?
I mean, it goes without saying the Armenians there were definitely hospitable. The other people around, it's kind of a toss-up. Some of them kind of ignore you. Some of them were nice. The shop owners, I think, in general, were pretty nice. I mean,
They want your business.
Yeah, they want.
Yeah.
But no, there's some nasty work that goes on, but we try to move past that, and
Each year for the past 10 years, we've been leading a group of pilgrims to the Holy Land, and each one comes with a very unique experience, unique transformed experience, because it's really a transformed experience. It's a spiritually transforming experience. And all the biblical sides, as you said, we read in the Bible. From day one, we read the Bible. That we go to church, and where Jesus was baptized. I'm sure you saw the place where he was born, where he worked with his father, the carpenter, and the whole story is there in front of you, laid out, and the whole landscape, especially around the Sea of Galilee where the preaching took place. It's a special landscape, and it's like the shape of an amphitheater, they say, where Jesus could have been heard there, and then sailing on the Sea of Galilee. It is a very, very unique experience. I'm very happy that you were on this tour. I'm very happy that you are sharing the good news. And in final, please, Danielle, any last comments?
I just thought it was a great trip. I wish we had more time there just to get to know everyone in the group too. That was a really nice part, just meeting like 30 other people and getting to know other young Armenians across the East Coast. But I would definitely recommend the trip to others, or just to visit Jerusalem, because it is such a life-changing experience and unique experience, especially as an Armenian, to see all these holy places that we have the rights to and our presence there. Very impactful.
Beautiful, beautiful, very, very beautiful. Chris, any last comments?
Yeah, I just want to. It was a really nice experience. They do it every year. I would recommend, if you're in that high school, college age, or just out of college, you should definitely do this specific trip. It's through the diocese. They paid for it as well. I'd like to thank St. Thomas. Danielle was sent by St. Mary's, and all the other churches in the diocese that sent somebody. I'd just like to thank them. Really good group, really good trip, and thank you to the Armenian Radio Hour for having us.
It's been
Thank
a pleasure.
you.
I really followed every single word you said. I inhaled every word you said, and it's really nice to have you, especially as young generation and people involved in the community. And that's the whole idea. Rafi's main concern is to bring the youth to the church. And I think he's very happy now to see the fruits of his or the community's labor as we support you. And hopefully in the future you will support some other events or functions of the church and of the community. We'd like to thank Danielle J. and Christopher Jamgochian for their time and for sharing with us their beautiful experience in the Holy Land. Thank you again.